Coming off of a very successful weekend, here's Jeff Jones with his Bujin deck profile.
So I was able to place 5th place this weekend at the Ultimate Reality Championship event. I played Bujins. Yeah, it's not a deck that normally I would run, but me and my friend Bujin, he told me that he thought it was one of the best decks. And at first I was skeptical, but then I started thinking about it, and it actually has like a really good hat matchup. And so I decided to run it because I figured a lot of people would be running it. I actually only got to play one hat deck in Swiss, and the rest of the decks I played theoretically are terrible matchups. I'll talk more about that later. To start off, of course, there are 3 Yamatos. It's like the card everyone hates hates to see turn 1. 2 Harume, 1 Mikazuchi. Some people play 2. I really only thought it was okay for 1. The special summon effect is actually really relevant from your hand, because a lot of times your opponent will try to destroy your 1 monster when you have Kaiser Coliseum out, and you can special summon it from your hand to keep them locked down with 1 monster on the field. So that's super relevant. Then 3 Crane, 2 Hare, 2 Turtle, 1 Aquilin. This card's actually just like really good. Some people don't even play it, but it was actually just like, amazingly relevant a lot. It actually won me a lot of games. And then obviously the most infamous card of the weekend, Honest. For spell cards we have 3 Tenki, 3 Potted Duality, 3 Bujin Carnation. This is actually the reason why I like Bujins. This card right here is my favorite card in the deck. It's literally the only reason I like Bujins. I just love this card. Whenever I see it in my hand, I just feel really happy. 2 Kaiser Coliseum. It's like one of the most ignorant cards in the game right now. People will say that Bujins is a helmet deck. That's actually just like not true at all. This card is a helmet card. It's so ridiculous. It should definitely not be anything more than 1.
Why not 3?
I've noticed that when I would open up 2 of them and like not a lot of protection, so you really want to open up like a Kaiser Coliseum and then like a back row card and a monster, or just like I guess a Yamato, because you can protect the Yamato with a Hare. But I would draw multiples when I played 3, and it just really ruined my hand. 2 Forbidden Chalice. This card obviously is the only card that's like super out of the ordinary for the deck. This card is an amazing versus hat because they do everything during your turn, and you can just from your hand chalice their plays when they try to moral talk your. Because if you go summon a Yamato, they're gonna flip Sanctum and whatnot, and try to destroy it, and you just chalice their monster. And from there, it usually just goes downhill because you're able to grind much better than the artifact, any sort of artifact deck can. The 400 attack bonus is definitely relevant. Also, it's not a trap card, so it cannot be like white or tapped or anything like that. Against the guy who got 2nd place using Karakuri Girgia, I had like 3 or 4 back rows and he trap stunned me. Well, I actually just like had Chalice set and was able to beat him because I was able to stop his plays. And then Book of Moon and Dark Hole.
Why Dark Hole in a deck that always did keep a monster on the field, even with your Hares?
Sometimes you have a really big problem dealing with established fields, especially against Mermails. So like Mermails make a turn 1 really good field. It's always just nice to have the option of Dark Hole. Also with like Duality, you have a higher chance of seeing cards that you need to see. It was really relevant when a lot of times. Also, you can do things if you need to like clear your field. You know to clear your opponents too, but sometimes I noticed where my opponent had something my opponent had a Felgrand, and so I used Dark Hole to force it, and then I lost my monster, which allowed me to Bujin Carnation and be able to like attack over it and Crane.
Did you ever run out of Hares? Was that a problem for you?
Sometimes I ran out of Hare or Turtle, but it wasn't like devastating. I was always able to like Bujin Carnation usually to get it back. The only thing that ever happened to me that I really was I lost Quillin, and I really needed it, but my opponent Leviared, and I mind controlled the Leviator to bring back his Leviator to bring back my Quillin to be able to like exceed into like Sasano and detach it and like kill his field and attack for game. It was probably like the 2nd best play of the weekend for me. And then finally the trap cards are 3 Venus Chain, 2-Dimensional Prison. This is probably it went from like one of the worst trap cards, no one to run it, to one of the best right now, especially against like the hands. the hands are somewhat of a weakness if you're like completely deficient, but you don't just go attacking wildly into face downs. Also, like the turtle rolling in the damage step is almost completely irrelevant. I noticed that almost immediately, and I didn't care. It didn't sway my decision to play this deck. So this card right here, always good. Then 2 wiretaps, good against all the trap cards. Stupid Solemn Warnings, Black Horn of Heaven, the Bottomless Trap Hole, Trundle, and Solemn Warning.
Any other thoughts about this weekend? Any thoughts on the Infinity matchup?
I mean, all you really need is to use no one honest, and for them to mess up 100 times.
What would you say the worst match for the deck is?
I mean,
or what worst match is, I should say.
Probably. I mean, no one has like a good matchup versus Infernity. That's just not a thing. Infernity is every deck's worst matchup because there's nothing. No deck is like main deck's things.
Ghost tricks
that are stop. That are like easily searchable. That can like deal with stopping them very much. I guess unless you're like maining Maxi, but that's like not really part of a deck. So I would probably just say like Infernity. Other than that, everything else is manageable in some sort of way. After that would probably be Sylvans probably. I played against 2 of them though, and I was able to beat them both. But it's definitely a harder matchup, I believe, because they can make Aurea, which doesn't target.
Thoughts on Madolches as well, since Tiramisu does not.
Same thing. Madolches I thought was going to be really difficult, but I also played against 2 of those and was able to beat them. Basically, I'll talk more about what I played against, but basically I thought everything I played against was like not a good matchup for me. So let's talk about extra deck real quick. And the extra deck was Rhapsody Berserk, Exciton Knight, Snowstorm Roach, Diamond Direwolf, Abyss Dweller, Paladynamo, Heartland Draco, Blackcorn, 101, Ragna Zero, Tsukiyomi, Kagasuchi, and then 3 Susanoo. Real quick, I didn't actually make a lot of these cards this weekend, or I only made them once. I never made this. I never made this. I never made this.
Why no Cowboy?
Okay. Before going to the tournament, I was using Cowboy, but I switched out for Heartland Draco, and now since I wish that I actually just played both because both were extremely relevant. Other than that, I made like this card a couple times. I made Exciton Knight a couple times, Diamond Direwolf a couple times. I made Abyss Dweller once, Paladynamo once. Heartland Draco was probably my second most made exceed out of all these. I think I made Blackcorn once, 101 once, Ragnar Zero once. So like all these I used like 1 to like no times. It was always just Susanoo. He always just, I mean, you don't really need anything else. I'm definitely just not going to play this card. This card's terrible. I'm just going to play Cowboy. I don't think I'd ever make this card again. I played 14 rounds and never made it. So yeah. Altogether, I played against like multiple Sylvan decks. Not a good matchup. I was able to beat them. Mermails, was able to beat that. I played against Scott Page the day before using this deck, and he like swept me so badly. So I was super scared to play against it. But I realized it was actually, I'm pretty sure because he was playing multiple infantries that gave me a hard time. Because once I played against the eventual winner, I didn't feel like it was actually that bad of a matchup. He only played 1 infantry, and I believe most other people do too. Other than that, I also played against like multiple Madolches, only one Hat and Swiss, the Gearjig Harakiri player. I was able. It was funny because like both the people who got first and second, I beat in Swiss. Then in Hat, top cut, I played against 2 Hat decks in a row, and then I played against the Mermail guy. I'm sorry, I don't remember. I can't say your name. I don't want to mess it up.
Are there any other XYZs that you would have maybe wanted to play? Is there anything else that you could make with Bujin Carnation outside of your Bujin guys and Diamond Dyer? Is there anything you might have thought would have been relevant?
I don't think so. I usually look through like all the rank 4s on Dueling Network constantly.
Right.
I'm pretty sure there was like nothing else that.
Luminescent Knight, nothing.
And I mean, I don't know if I ever would have made Anti-Luminescent Knight, but it's also one of my favorite cards. I might be able to find room for it because like I don't know if these cards are even relevant anymore. I'm pretty sure I would only just use Cowboy over the Tsukiyomi. Maybe, I can't remember if I ever used 3 Susanoo. But I know before this weekend, I definitely had to make 3 Susanoo before. This weekend, I don't know if I had to go through all 3 or not. So.
Side deck.
Oh, yeah. That was the thing. So it was 2 DD Crow. It seems like a pretty standard card to use against. You can use against any sort of like thing that uses Dragon Rollers or Infernity. 2 Mind Crush. That deck is very weak to Prophecy, which won the Champions event or whatever the day before. So I thought maybe people would be like, oh, well, people just run Prophecy now. So I threw this in there because it's also good versus Infernity and Mermail. So if I was playing against Prophecy, I have something else to add.
How is the Prophecy matchup? That is something that I forgot to ask.
No, it's terrible. It's basically unwinnable. I played against the base Lolly, and yeah, he just like 2-0'd me really fast. We just played for whatever. Yeah, he 2-0'd me. It's not good at all. 2 Debunk, which is good against Mermail, the hands and things like that. You can also debunk artifacts. Mind Control, this card's busted. It actually probably should just be banned. 2 Malevolent Catastrophe, especially against Hat, which is already a good matchup. However, people are like, oh, you're running Bujins, you run back rows. Why would you use Malevolent Catastrophe? Because when this card resolves, you actually just probably win. It doesn't really matter. Also, you can just set things like Dimensional Prison in this card, and your opponent will attack your like Yamato because you have a hair, and then you can just like deprison their monster, chain Catastrophe for the blowout.
Speaking of Catastrophe, maybe some people ask some questions about that card and its relevance, and anyone who needs to know that should have definitely been watching the live stream when that went off, right? In the top 8 match, Malevolent Catastrophe itself. How good is it for sweeping like other decks like Bujin Mirror Match, for example?
Oh, I mean, like, if anyone like plays into it, yeah, like...
Would you side it in for that, the Bujin Mirror Match?
Probably, because if they have Kaiser before you, it's probably a game. It depends, I guess. They might even try to like use Decree against you in Mirror Match if using trap cards. Oh, that's another thing. I didn't use Decree. A lot of people use Decree using Bujins. I think the traps are way too important to use Decree.
Do you think this deck is at a major disadvantage against decks that do Bujin decks that do play Decree?
No. I wouldn't say so. Unless you open up like infinite traps and they open up the Decree. I feel like it's very manageable because it's more likely that you'll draw your trap cards before their Decree, so you'll be able to stop their plays while you'll be able to go on the offensive.
But you never had trouble blowing away your own Kaiser Coliseum at all?
My own Kaiser Coliseum?
Yeah, with the Catastrophe.
No, I actually every time I sided in Catastrophe, I actually just never drew it. I think I only drew it like once, so it was just like more of like a theory thing, and I just never drew it. I just beat all the hat decks anyway.
Sure.
And then 3 Maxi is like the most important side deck cards, and 3 Typhoon.
What did you side in against Infernities? I want to see this.
Infernity, I sided in 3 Maxi, the 2 DD Crows, and I think I sided in. I definitely sided in. Typhoon. I think I couldn't remember if I sided in Mind Crush. I might have sided out like Dimensional Prisons for these. So I used this card to beat Parker when he tried to go off, and I hit his Infernity launcher.
What do you side in against Sylvans? I'm just going to ask you what you sided in for your worst matchups.
Against Sylvans, I sided in the 3 Maxi, the 3 Maxi and the DD Crow. I don't think I side decked Debunk when I played against them.
Were you afraid that if you Maxi, they just they'd keep going and then create the Decisive Armor?
I mean, that definitely happened in one of my matches, but I only played 15 monsters, and by the time he made it, I'd already gone through like 5 of them, so I only had like 10 monsters left, or less than 10, because I had 2 monsters on the field. So I had like 10 or so cards in hand, and when you Decisive Armor, you hit 3 cards, I hit like 4, it only dealt like 4,000 damage or so. So it wasn't actually that big of a deal. Early game, though, if they just like do when you have like a Yamato out, and you maxi them, I guess it's very possible that they could kill you. Or if it's if you're just low on life points, and you maxi them.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else you have to say in this?
No, I guess not.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, Jeff.